Hey everybody, and welcome back to another week of online learning. It's Amber here, and for this week I figured we'd do something else a little bit different, and I figured we would learn about the history of superheroes. So I'm sure not a lot of you know this, but I actually took a class on the history of superheroes my sophomore year of college, and it was actually really interesting to make a class behind this topic because the topic is very long, and I figured I would take the time to show you guys how superheroes were created. But because it's a very long history, I'm only going to be teaching you guys about the most relevant stuff about what into making a superhero. So what I want to go over first is what, not genres, I guess the time periods that took place in making a superhero. So there was the Golden Age, which was 1938 to 1954, the Silver Age, which was 1956 to 1969, the Bronze Age, which was 1970 to 1980, the Late Bronze Age, which was 1980 to 1984, and the Modern Age, which is 1985 to now. So let's jump right in, and today we are going to talk about where did superheroes come from, and this is a part of the Golden Age of comics. So, the first popular fictional characters that inspired the superhero was Zorro, Doc Savage, the Shadow, the Green Hornet, and the Phantom. And DC Comics first introduced the first costume superhero, Superman, in June of 1938, and Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster are the creators behind Superman. And at first, they unsuccessfully tried to sell the series to newspaper publishers as a daily strip, and DC took a further risk in 1938 by publishing Superman, even though the world was not in a very good position, and we will talk about that a little bit later. And Superman got great reciprocation from readers, and the comic sold very well. At the time, Superman was not labeled or marked as a superhero. Mike Benton, who wrote Superhero Comics of the Golden Age, the illustrated history, says that although the term superhero was used as early as 1917 to describe a public figure of great talents or accomplishments, the early comic book heroes of the 1940s were usually referred to by their creators as costume characters or mystery men. So after Superman, DC introduced the Crimson Avenger in October of 1938, the Sandman in April of 1939, and Batman in May 1939. DC also published Superman #1, spinning off the Man of Steel into his own solo series in 1939. A publisher that would eventually become DC's chief competitor entered the field in November 1939 as Timely Comics. Its first superheroes, the Human Torch, the Submariner, and the Original Angel, premiered that month in an anthology that had the eventual name of the company, Marvel Comics. So, comic books were the perfect form of entertainment for audiences going through the Great Depression. So, sidebar, what is the Great Depression? The Great Depression was the worst economic downturn in the history of the industrialized world, lasting from 1929 to 1939. The Depression began after the stock market crashed in October 1929, which sent Wall Street into a panic. So now I'm going to be showing you guys a little video of Superman's origin story. I'm sorry that I ended day one very abrupt. Like I said, this history is it's very long, very broad, so I figured I would take down and chunk it down for you guys with the most important parts of the history. And I figured the next part of the history, it would be really cool to show you guys a little bit about Superman and his origin story. So, an origin story is how the superhero gained their powers and decided to fight crime. And I will be showing a few of these throughout this week. I'm not sure if you guys know the origin story of a lot of your favorite superheroes, so I figured it would be really cool for you guys to learn. And that is it for our day one of superheroes. I hope you guys enjoy Superman's origin story, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye!
An interview? In Action Comics number 1, Superman's origin story was told on only one page. As a distant planet was dying from old age, a scientist placed his infant son on a spaceship and sent it to Earth. On Earth, the baby was discovered by a passing motorist who turned the child over to an orphanage. Because the child had come from a planet that was millions of years more advanced than Earth, the baby possessed a, quote, advanced physical structure, which granted him incredible strength. Given the name Clark Kent, as an adult, he discovered that he could run faster than a train, leap an eighth of a mile, and hurdle a 20-story building. Deciding to use his gifts to benefit mankind, he became Superman. This extremely brief origin story was expanded upon slightly in the first edition of Superman in 1939. Just like in the previous year's issues, a scientist on a dying planet named Krypton sent his child to Earth. The baby was then discovered by an elderly couple named the Kents, who decided to adopt him themselves after first dropping him off at an orphanage. After learning of his abilities, the Kents told their young boy that people might be scared of his astounding powers, but that he must someday use them to help humanity. His powers were described as nearly identical to those outlined in Action Comics number 38, with the notable addition that his skin was now said to be nigh impenetrable. This origin was expanded upon once again in Superman number 53, the 10th anniversary of Superman's debut. In this version, we learn that humans of high intelligence and magnificent physical perfection lived on Krypton. We also learned that the force of gravity on Krypton was much stronger than that of Earth, so that any Kryptonian on Earth could essentially defy Earth's gravity entirely. However, Jor-El, Krypton's greatest scientist, proclaimed that the planet was doomed. He explained that every atom on Krypton would explode in one giant blast and that they should therefore all migrate to Earth.
I have come to the conclusion that Krypton is about to be destroyed.
Jor-El's prediction was greeted with laughter and skepticism by other Kryptonian elites, who claimed that he wanted to frighten Krypton's leaders away so that he could rule the planet himself. Jor-El returned home to his wife Lara just as Krypton began to self-destruct. Lara, deciding to stay with her husband, placed their infant son into a spaceship and launched it towards Earth. As Krypton exploded in the background, the spaceship traveled through space and eventually landed on Earth. The spaceship was discovered by passing motorists, and it vanished when they recovered the infant.
Sarah, look! Merciful heavens!
They took the child to an orphanage, where his super strength was discovered. Fearing that the child would destroy the orphanage, the resident doctor agreed to let the couple who discovered the child, Mr. and Mrs. Kent, adopt him. They decided to name him Clark Kent. As Clark grew older, he discovered more and more of his powers, including his speed, his jumping ability, his invincibility, and his X-ray vision. Eventually, Mrs. Kent died and Mr. Kent became gravely ill. On his deathbed, he told Clark that he needed to hide his true identity and use his amazing powers for the force of good. When his father finally passed away, Clark decided that a job at a big newspaper would help him keep in touch with those that he needed to help the most. He resigned to wear glasses and be timid, but to change into a blue and red costume and be known as Superman whenever he was needed.
He has resolved to keep secret his Superman identity and to adopt a pose of mild-mannered timidity as Kent in order to safeguard the masquerade.
Like all comic book heroes, Superman has gone through numerous reimaginings, with one of the most famous and long-lasting being 1986's Man of Steel storyline. This storyline maintains most of the aspects of the original storylines, with an added emphasis on Clark's teenage years and his experiences in the town of Smallville. Just like his origin story, Superman's abilities have been revised and modified throughout the years. Abilities that have been added to his roster over the years include, but are not limited to, heat vision, super hearing, super breath, and super intelligence. However, the most notable change to the character was in his ability to fly. Early issues only describe Superman's ability to leap great distances, but the creators of the 1940s cartoon show found it wasteful and difficult to animate, having him jump from place to place. Thus, Superman was given the ability to fly. This would not be the last time Superman's medium would change his character. His greatest weakness was revealed to be green kryptonite, irradiated pieces of his former planet. Kryptonite was actually introduced as a plot device for the 1940s radio show in order to give the voice actor who played Superman a bit of time off.
I told you. It's kryptonite, Superman. Little souvenir from the old hometown.
Although green kryptonite is the most common and deadly foil to Superman, other colors of kryptonite have been known to appear and have had various effects on the Man of Steel. Finally, later issues would change the source of Kryptonian strength to be Earth's yellow sun, meaning Kryptonians on Krypton would not have extraordinary powers due to their own native red sun. Only in the presence of a yellow sun would their true strength emerge, like on Earth. As one of the most famous comic book heroes in history, Superman has appeared in various media, including everything from radio shows to animated series to big-budget blockbusters. George Reeves and Christopher Reeve have provided two of the most famous representations of Superman, on the small screen and big screen, respectively. Recently, Henry Cavill starred as Superman in 2013's Man of Steel, and will reprise the role in 2016's Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice.